All right, tonight we start with President Barack Obama ignoring a major warning in 2014 that Russia would try to, in fact, interfere in America's elections. So, what did Obama do in 2016, 2015, 2014? Did he even try to stop it? Absolutely not. Instead, just weeks before the election, listen to what then President Obama said.
I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past, or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
No serious person? Really, Barack Obama? He owes you, the American people, tonight an explanation. Why didn't he know? And better yet, how did he not know when he was warned in 2014? That sounds like a dereliction of duty. So it's time for President Obama to start talking, maybe even under oath. And now that you have that important background information, it makes sense why the president is firing back against this completely biased news media in this country and the Democratic Party that have wanted to destroy him from day one over this phony Russia collusion conspiracy theory. Now, the facts do not matter to the left. They have now managed to convince themselves by repeating their talking points in their echo chamber that somehow, in some way, President Trump colluded with the Russians, even though, as we have repeatedly pointed out, long over a year, to this day, there is no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Now, the only concrete evidence of collusion with Russia that we have is Hillary Clinton and her bought and paid for dossier that's filled with Russian lies, Russian government lies, and propaganda and salacious details that were never verified. She used that, bought that to influence an election. So just like he always does, President Trump, he's fighting back. And he's fighting back on Twitter to react to Mueller's indictment of these 13 Russian nationals for the 2016 election meddling. Now, the president writes, quote, "How funny that the fake news media doesn't want to say the Russian group was formed in 2014, long before my run for president. Maybe they knew I was going to run even though I did not know." Robert Mueller's indictment clearly lays out that this Russian attempt to influence the election, it started in 2014 under Obama's watch, and he was warned, and he did nothing to stop it. In fact, by the way, go back to 2012 during a presidential debate. Remember Barack Obama mocking Mitt Romney for saying Russia still posed a very serious foreign policy threat. Mitt Romney was right. Obama was wrong. And, of course, the media ignored all the key facts and findings in the Mueller indictment. Now, you in the media, you corrupt people in the media, you need to listen closely, very closely, to what the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, said while announcing the charges on Friday. Pay very close attention. You may actually learn something.
Now, there is no allegation in this indictment that any American was a knowing participant in this illegal activity. There is no allegation in the indictment that the charged conduct altered the outcome of the 2016 election. After the election, the defendants allegedly staged rallies to support the president-elect while simultaneously staging rallies to protest his election. For example, the defendants organized one rally to support the president-elect and another rally to oppose him, both in New York on the same day.
Wait, did I just hear it? No Americans were wittingly involved in this Russian effort. Now, the main goal of Russia was to sow widespread political discord. And after the election, these Russian cyber trolls, what did they do? They were trying to undermine the president-elect, Donald Trump. They were organizing dueling Trump rallies in New York City and an anti-Trump rally in Charlotte, North Carolina. Instead of focusing what is actually in this Mueller indictment, what Rod Rosenstein said, that corrupt media of yours, they're trying to use it to further their fake news Russia conspiracy narrative. Take a look. We have the proof.
And really, the goal here was simple: damage Hillary Clinton and elect Donald Trump. And these Russians allegedly went to great lengths.
He's found this incredible network of meddling, and now he has kind of a stronger basis on which to go and look at collusion, the emails. This didn't deal with the hacking of the emails, and the issue of obstruction of justice.
What's going on here is establishing an underlying crime, and then anything henceforth is going to be conspiracy to obstruct or to collude.
There may well be information. There may well be lots of evidence that there was not only unwitting but witting assistance from the Trump campaign.
I think that the president has continued to abdicate responsibility here about leading the country in response to an attack on the most core fundamental part of our democracy, our free and fair elections.
He's the dumbest attorney on TV. What the Destroy Trump media also missed were key points and pieces of information about what is not in the Mueller indictment. It has nothing about Donald Trump colluding with the Russians. By the way, we still have zero evidence. I'm waiting. It says nothing about members of the Trump campaign colluding with the Russians. It says nothing about Donald Trump Jr. colluding with the Russians. It says nothing about the president obstructing justice. Liberal media, are you paying attention? Do you even care about the truth? Now, President Trump has been saying that fact over and over and over again. Take a look.
There has been no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russians, or Trump and Russians. No collusion. But bottom line, they all say there's no collusion. And there is no collusion. There was absolutely no collusion. Everybody knows it.
Let's put it this way. There is absolutely no collusion. That has been proven. There is absolutely no collusion. I didn't make a phone call to Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia. Everybody knows it. What has been shown is no collusion. No collusion. There's been absolutely no collusion.
Now, the president also tweeted this weekend, quote, "I never said Russia did not meddle in the election. I said it may be Russia or China or another country or group, or it may be a 400-pound genius sitting in bed and playing with his computer. The Russian hoax was that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia, and it never did." And then he added, quote, "If it was the goal of Russia to create discord, disruption, chaos within the U.S., then with all the committee hearings, investigations, and party hatred, they have succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. They are laughing their asses off in Moscow. Get smart, America." Think about it. The president's right. For over a year, Russia has, in fact, been laughing at us. Democrats, the media, have been playing right into Putin's hands by creating chaos and political discord, just what they wanted. And frankly, it's working better than Russia could have ever dreamed of. Now, that is what this Russian effort was all about, causing chaos, political unrest in this country. Now, the Washington Examiner's Byron York, he'll join us later tonight. He is out with a great article, which is entitled "A Non-Alarmist Reading of the Mueller Russia Indictment." Now, in the piece, York makes some very key points, namely that Russians started all of this in 2014. Donald Trump wasn't running. The focus was on damaging Hillary Clinton. Remember, because everyone thought she was going to win. All of you in the media, you were laughing at the idea of Donald Trump running. Now, Byron York also cites figures from the Senate Intelligence Committee that in the key battleground states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the Russians only spent $3,000 on Facebook ads. Now, also, the indictment is very vague about how much these Russian trolls spent on social media ads. It only says they spent, quote, thousands every month. Now, that number is small when you compare it to the combined $2.4 billion that the Clinton and Trump campaigns spent during the election, mostly Clinton. That's not that much money. Also tonight, a Facebook executive, he's sounding off about the Russia investigation. His name is Rob Goldman. He's the vice president of advertising at Facebook. He set the record straight on Twitter over the weekend, writing, quote, "The majority of the Russian ads spent happened after the election, their spend." Now, we shared that fact, but very few outlets have covered it because it doesn't align with the main media narrative of Trump and the election. And he goes on, quote, "The main goal of the Russian propaganda and misinformation effort is to divide America by using our institutions like freedom of speech, social media against us. It has stoked fear and hatred amongst Americans. It is working incredibly well. We are quite divided as a nation. Even Facebook is throwing cold water on the media's fake news narrative about Mueller's indictment. Now, let's get back to Obama's failure to stop this Russian interference. Congressman Devin Nunes, back in 2014, he raised a red flag that, yes, Vladimir Putin needed to be watched closely. But Obama didn't seem to care. And even 2 weeks before the election, he's lecturing Trump. Stop whining. It could never happen here. Now, remember, as NBC News pointed out, Obama didn't do more to combat Russia. He thought Hillary was a shoo-in. Why interrupt this? And what's even more disturbing is that there were even earlier warning signs from Russia. We have been telling you on this program how Vladimir Putin had Russian operatives inside America, right here on our soil, and how they were involved in a sophisticated plot. It started in 2009. It had a main objective to get a foothold in America's uranium market. We actually had an FBI informant. We now know his name, Douglas Campbell. And we've been telling you about this guy. This guy now has testified before 3 congressional committees, and literally he was uncovering at the time in 2009 and 10 that Putin and his operatives were involved in bribery and kickbacks and money laundering and racketeering and extortion, all while corrupt Uranium One deal, that was all being approved 18 months later. He couldn't understand why they didn't take his intelligence, and that gave Russia, a hostile foreign actor, control of 20% of America's uranium? Who would be this stupid to do this? Well, apparently Obama and Hillary Clinton and Eric Holder, and then at the time, the FBI Director Robert Mueller. And by the way, Mueller, when are you going to answer questions about this? America already, we don't have enough uranium, the foundational material for nuclear weapons. Why would we give 20% to a hostile nation, Russia, and a hostile actor, Putin? It never made sense. It doesn't make sense. And here we are years later, and the media, the Democrats, they are shocked. They're just flabbergasted that Russia would ever even dare to try to influence our election, even though, as I just explained, they were easily able to be involved in bribery, extortion, kickbacks, money laundering, and secure 20% of America's uranium. Why would they stop? They already know we're being stupid. Plus, has the left forgotten what President Obama tried to do to Israel? Oh, influencing elections is wrong? Tell that to the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, America's closest ally in the Middle East. Remember, the congressional investigation found that back in 2014, an Israeli political group used 300,000 taxpayer dollars, the Obama State Department, in a grant to create a political apparatus to try and defeat our closest ally in the Middle East, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it doesn't stop there. The U.S., if it's so wrong, we've been involved in influencing elections. That dates back to places like Italy, Iran, Guatemala, Chile, Nicaragua. And those are just a few examples. And take a look at what the former CIA director, James Woolsey, told Laura Ingraham about the U.S. and how we interfere in foreign elections. Take a look.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably, but it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from taking over. For example, in Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though. We don't mess around other people's elections, Jeff?
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on a former CIA director.
Only for a very good cause in the interests of democracy.
Right.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying America should not be doing this. I do believe we ought to be doing this on a regular basis. I believe in intelligence. I believe in covert operations, plausible deniability. I believe in it all. Thank God we have good people in the CIA, the intelligence community, FBI, and others, military, that are doing this every day. But it's beyond naive to think that this wouldn't happen to us, especially given Russia's success with Uranium One back in 2009 and 10. And another, by the way, is, acting surprised by the Russian election meddling. All these people in the media, they're either flat out lying to you or they're just totally ignorant. You pick. Now, either the Obama administration was not prepared for Russia trying to interfere our election, or his administration made a choice to ignore the threat, probably the latter. Probably because they thought Hillary was going to win. It's that simple. And that's why President Obama tonight, if you really care about this, owes you, the American people, an explanation. Now, also breaking at this hour, now that Robert Mueller has indicted the 13 Russian nationals, very serious legal questions are being raised about Hillary Clinton, about the DNC, about the law firm Perkins Coie, about Fusion GPS, and about that former British spy Christopher Steele. Now, think about this. Look at this headline from the website Law and Crime. Quote, does Mueller indictment mean Clinton campaign can be indicted for Christopher Steele? Wait a minute. Is there a double standard? The article makes some fascinating legal points. For example, Robert Mueller indicted the Russian trolls in part for failing to register as foreign agents and for not reporting their activities to the Federal Elections Commission. Okay, if that's the legal standard that Robert Mueller has set up, fine. Then the special counsel should also be looking into Hillary Clinton, the DNC, Fusion GPS, Perkins Coie, and Christopher Steele. And here's why. Steele is a foreign citizen, a former British spy. He was paid by Fusion GPS through that law firm, Perkins Coie, the law firm tied to the Clinton campaign and the DNC. We've not seen anything to suggest that Steele was a registered foreign agent, that he reported to the FCC that he was being compensated. Okay, if that's all true, given that information, well, that would mean that Fusion GPS, Perkins Coie, the DNC, the Clinton campaign, and Christopher Steele should all be in serious legal jeopardy. At a very minimum, Mueller should be investigating them. Or is there a double standard, Mr. Mueller? Now, there's already been a complaint filed with the FEC against the Clinton campaign and the DNC, accusing them of violating campaign finance laws for failing to disclose the up to $12 million that was shelled out to fund the dossier. And we know that the dossier was used to influence the election. That was the whole point, to use lies to manipulate you, the American people. We also know now that it was also used by the FBI to get that FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign and in an election year, an opposition party candidate. Now, that is the only evidence we have after over a year, going on a year and a half, of Russian collusion in 2016 that we know exists.